the ransomware life cycle like? What's that ransomware life cycle like? Okay. There's 6 steps in a ransomware attack: distribution, infection, communication, file search, encryption, and ransom demand. Okay, so there's 6 steps. Step number 1 is I got to go ahead and actually distribute the ransomware. I got to go ahead and sow my seeds. Now, email is your primary attack vector, and along with that you have email that contains a document like a Word document or a PDF or an invoice. If the employee or person clicks on it, that particular document contains the malware. Or we go ahead and send an email that has a URL that says something like, hey, to get information on your mid-year bonus, go ahead and actually click on this URL. And unfortunately, most employees click. Or you got compromised login credentials. But these are all the various distributions, the paths for distribution to get my malware, to get my ransomware out there. So I go ahead and sow my seeds, and lo and behold, if I am effective, then I get an infection. I get the malware, ransomware on an individual machine. So it gets introduced onto the target device, laptop, desktop, cloud-based server, on-premises server. Most of those laptops, desktops will have some type of antivirus, and that may stop it, but here's the thing. The bad guys now are sophisticated enough to where they buy the off-the-shelf antivirus stuff, and they test to see, hey, can my ransomware or malware, can it bypass those antivirus? And most of the time the answer is yes. That's why we need some type of sophisticated advanced detection, extended detection and response software, something that is actually able to go ahead and dynamically assess the nature of a particular file and whether or not it is malware. Then once the malware is on the machine and it's gotten through, it's in and it's on the particular device, what it's then going to do is it's going to go ahead and connect out to what's called a command and control server. So a command and control server is a server out on the internet somewhere. That particular server, the malware will then actually go ahead, contact that server to go ahead and download the encryption keys. It'll also contact that server for purposes of downloading additional malware. It makes use of something called domain name service. DNS is a fundamental process in networking. Whenever you click on an app or whenever you open up a browser and type in Amazon.com or Cisco.com or Google.com, any of those, the process that always runs is that there's something called a domain name server. And the domain name server says, okay, Cisco.com or Amazon.com corresponds to this particular IP address. That process runs continually. Well, if you have DNS level protection on your network, then you would be able to block the call out, the connection out to the command and control server. But let's assume that you don't. Okay, so now we've accessed our command and control server, we've downloaded the encryption keys. Then at that point, what the malware is designed to do is designed to go ahead and move throughout your organization, move laterally within the organization and scan for data that can be compromised. It'll actually go ahead and steal anything that it thinks is of value. That information can be utilized to blackmail the organization. Then the data gets exfiltrated to that command and control server. So in the case of Colonial Pipeline, what they did was that before they demanded the ransom, they actually stole over a couple of hundred gigs of data and sent that to their command and control servers. And then if the company refuses to pay, they threaten to release the compromised data. Once they've stolen all the data that they think is useful, they'll go ahead and encrypt the files, and then they will go ahead and demand the ransom. As insurance, the hackers will threaten to release the exfiltrated data.